especially if we take a picture backwards. Necklace straight.
Thank you.
I can push it for you when you're ready. Like, just reset it right away for you if you like.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to see. You could hear it there. I was just talking to that.
All right. Everybody ready to go? All right. Hello, is this on? Great. Greetings and welcome, everyone. My name is Sriram Madhusudanan from the United States Climate Action Network. And welcome to our press briefing titled U.S. Climate Leaders Defy Trump's Fossil Fuel Agenda and Advance a Just Transition. So to start off, since the second Trump administration began 9 months ago, we've witnessed a relentless and daily attack on basic civil, political, and human rights of everyday people across the United States and around the world. Entire militaries are being mobilized into our cities and urban centers. And action on climate has been explicitly targeted by this organization, by Trump and his oligarch backers in the White House. From gutting renewable energy policies to opening up protected lands and waters for oil and gas extraction and exploiting tariff negotiations to push for more fossil gas exports, all to profit the billionaire class. The current US administration is inflicting immense pain on billions of people around the world. And yet, hope is not lost. As the largest civil society network of climate and environmental justice organizations in the US, USCAN and its members, represented here, some of our members at COP30, are here to share a message of defiance, urgency, and hope. Despite the US absence here, the work continues on the ground. So to kick us off and ground us in not just this historical moment, but a particular perspective from the US Gulf South and Appalachia, I'll first pass it to Colette Pichon-Battle of Taproot Earth.
Peace. I'm Colette Pichon-Battle of Taproot Earth and the U.S. CAN Board. I first offer peace to the indigenous peoples of Amazonia, especially the Tupinamba of Belém, Brazil. I bring peaceful greetings from the traditional lands of the Choctaw Nation in the southeast of Louisiana. I ask for your permission to speak today. 2025 marks 20 years since the impact of Hurricane Katrina on the Gulf South, including the Bahamas and the southern region of North America. The devastation that came with that storm was unforgettable, and the recovery that followed was unforgivable. For 20 years, we've had to understand the relationship to more extreme weather and the migration of people. We've had to understand the connection of the oil and gas industry to the poor health and low life expectancy of our people. We've had to understand the root cause of the climate crisis and the history of our people and our nation. We are here at COP30 as members of the U.S. Climate Action Network, not only to advocate for the protection of the places we love and call home, but this year, we are here to reassure the global community that despite a failure of leadership, the us that matters, the front lines of the climate crisis, and the advocates of justice are here. We are here to work for a more sustainable future. I'm honored to have met so many indigenous peoples at the past and this current COP. It has been an honor to meet the indigenous peoples of the Amazon who protect so much of the Earth's biodiversity. They have a right to be here, and we call on the UN and other global bodies to shift from current policies that limit participation of local and indigenous people. We are on their land. They have a right to be in all sessions and meetings taking place on their land. They should not be required to have permission to participate. Talking with so many that fight for their nations to be recognized has brought into crystal clear focus the obligation of those of us from recognized nations with no leadership here. Whether our leaders are here or not, we bring the power that is growing from the Gulf South and Appalachia. It turns out that a global movement needs a collective of self-determined people, not the authoritarian rule of a few. We are here bringing the stories of Katrina and Maria and the wildfires of California. We bring the power of the civil rights movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, and the climate justice movement. We are here. We are ready to take the lead when our leaders don't show up. Thank you.
Thank you, Colette. Now I'll pass it to Ian Tafoya from Green Latinos.
Before I begin, I'd just like to say thank you to all the Green Latinos members. Your power and strength is brought to this table today. I want to begin by talking about an issue that is of importance to the entire globe, and that's our global humanity. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, Chaco Canyon in the Four Corners in the center of the United States, is under attack for oil and gas drilling. These are my ancestors, and it is completely inappropriate for what is happening, and we need everybody to speak out to protect UNESCO World Heritage Sites from the attacks of fossil fuel. As you heard, our communities are under attack with climate and weather patterns that are absolutely devastating. Droughts and floods, failed crops, extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, exposing outdoor workers on a regular basis. But we are resilient. We have been here before. We have faced oppression. Our ancestors and our elders worked tirelessly towards self-determination and a better environment for all. They faced xenophobia, intimidation, and violence. But the work, it continues. And we are here to say loud that there are no kings in the United States, that across our nation, communities are coming together with national or subnational governments, and they are leading the way. We are creating the just transition we are envisioning. In Colorado, we are passing laws like the Environmental Justice Act, taking on cumulative impacts. We're passing climate protection funds that guarantee 50% for disproportionately impacted communities. In Puerto Rico and Texas, we are challenging liquid gas pipeline terminals. In New Mexico and California, we are building wind and solar at record pace. In Illinois, we are strengthening our grid and improving public transit. And in Arizona, we are championing workers and affordable electric bills. Together, we are passing laws, engaging in rulemakings, contesting fossil fuel permits, and any violation of our civil and human rights. We are the solar installers, the lawyers and engineers. We are the bus drivers, local farmers, and compost haulers. We are the water protectors. We are the leaders we have been looking for, and we will be here when this administration falls away. Thank you.
Next, I'll pass it to Feleecia Guillen from the Institute for Policy Studies.
Buenos dias a todos. My name is Feleecia Guillen, and I am the New Mexico Fellow with the Institute for Policy Studies and an organizer with the 5F Fossil Fuel Phase-Out campaign. I come from Tiwa Lands, what is known as Albuquerque, New Mexico, a place that sits within a landscape that is home of 19 pueblos, the Mescalero Apache, and the Navajo Nation. I first want to begin by honoring my Native relatives and my fellow Nuevo Mexicanos, the original stewards whose leadership and resistance continues to guide our fight for climate justice today. Back home in New Mexico, we live at the front lines of the fossil fuel and nuclear economy. We sit at the edge of the Permian Basin, one of the largest oil-producing regions in the world, a place where quite literally the wells outnumber people. And our state also carries an immense nuclear legacy, from the testing of the first atomic bomb at the Trinity test site that has affected not only our indigenous communities, but Nuevo Mexicanos, to uranium contamination on the Navajo Nation and Pueblo lands, to new proposals to store nuclear waste in our communities today. New Mexico is a sacrifice zone. We are federally recognized as a sacrifice zone. Extraction, contamination, and exploitation have defined our economy for far too long. And yet, even as our people continue to resist these injustices, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, who is here at COP on Tuesday, who calls herself a climate leader, is doubling down on false solutions that perpetrate harm in our communities. She is promoting hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, and the use of toxic fracking wastewater, all under the banner of clean energy. But I want to make it very clear that these are not climate solutions. These are lifelines for the fossil fuel industry. These are meant to delay a real transition, to keep drilling going in the Permian, and to keep communities locked into a cycle of extraction and pollution. At the same time, Trump's attacks on climate, democracy, and human rights are being fought and resisted at every single level, even as we see rising authoritarianism in our streets and in our policies. The people in New Mexico are organizing to resist that agenda. Our own governor is unfortunately aligning with the same extractive playbook with the better branding, but we are resisting. That's why I'm here with the 5F fossil fuel phase-out campaign. We are calling for a fast, fair, full, funded, and feminist phase-out of fossil fuels. In New Mexico, that means demanding that our governor to stop pushing false solutions and to diversify our tax base so that we are no longer dependent on oil, gas, and nuclear industries. Because for us, the fight for fossil fuels is also the fight for democracy. Every time we say no to extraction, we are rejecting authoritarianism in all its form. So here at COP, I'm sure everybody here knows, Governor Gavin Newsom from California and Governor MLG are representing not only the US in this global space, but they're presenting themselves as climate leaders. But leadership clearly is not what you do on a global stage. It's about what you do when you go home and face your communities. If you say you're against Trump, please prove it. Phase out fossil fuels, invest in a just transition, protect communities instead of corporations. We know that solutions already exist, and we're practicing them in our communities every single day. What's missing isn't technology, it's quite literally political will, and that's what we're building in our communities. We refuse to be sacrificed, we refuse to be silenced, and we refuse to let our leaders greenwash extraction in our name. Thank you.
Thank you, Feleecia. And last, I'll pass it to Jean Su from the Center for Biological Diversity.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. Disclaimer, I just stepped off the plane and haven't slept for 24 hours, so just giving you that heads up now. I happen to have the pleasure of living in the same city as the President of the United States. And what I'll tell you in the last 9 months is that you can feel what authoritarianism looks like. It is in the National Guards that have been sent all across our streets. It is in how our neighbors and the people who care for our children are being stopped in the streets in the morning and taken to prison, even though they are here absolutely lawfully. So when we talk about fossil fuels and this fight for climate, we cannot disentangle the fact that the fight against fossil fuels is the fight against authoritarianism. The fight against authoritarianism is the fight against fossil fuels, and the fight to get everybody a dignified life with affordable energy and clean air to breathe and a safe climate. What I'll say is that in the last few months, we have had some significant wins in the United States. And I know it doesn't feel like it, especially from the heart of the beast of DC. But let me just give you a couple of highlights. 2 weeks ago, we had a landmark election where the most famous city in the United States voted for a man who promised anti-authoritarianism, and a man who just said, look, I'm going to give you affordable energy and clean air to breathe. That's where the United States is. That means that there are people out there voting for the polls for something greater than fossil fuels and Trump's awful authoritarian agenda. Example number 2, we've had some subnational leaders here, and all of us on this stage have been pushing subnational leaders for years. At the center, we have been at the heart of California policy for 20 years. After those 20 years, across administrations, we have a governor in place right now, Governor Newsom, who has had significant impact on fossil fuels. He banned fracking in California. He has set a record public safety jurisdiction. Didn't make much sense. And he also has banned fossil fuel cars, the sale of new fossil fuel cars by 2035. Now, Governor Newsom can certainly do much more, and he is taking that opportunity right now, and we are urging him, all of us, pressure on the ground, that he passes things like legislation like the Pay Polluters Act, where polluters are held accountable and actually pay for the damage that they have inflicted on all of us, as an example. And the third place that I'd like to point us to are some actual victories that we've had in the courts. I'm a lawyer, so I just wanted to give you a few good news, even though our Supreme Court has been compromised. One is that in Puerto Rico, actually a month ago, we stopped the Trump administration from investing $15 billion into Puerto Rico's fossil fuel system. And we are pushing them to put on distributed energy resources, rooftop solar and storage and battery, the things that Puerto Ricans want and the things that will keep our climate safe. That is a huge win, and we won that in the courts. Another incredible moment is that in New Mexico, just this last week, the Supreme Court of New Mexico has heard the people of New Mexico on a case that indigenous frontline community members and environmental groups have brought to challenge the oil and gas industry in New Mexico based on New Mexico's constitutional right to clean air and water. That is happening at the New Mexico Supreme Court stage. And finally, and this is something that many people don't know, the United States is ground zero for data centers right now. Data centers are the new lifeline for fossil fuels. All across the United States, big tech and fossil fuels are teaming together to proliferate data centers all across the United States. And what has been the outcome? Communities on the ground all across the United States have been fighting back and winning. We have folks in Indiana, in California, in Arizona, and in Virginia who have successfully fought off these new fossil gas plants and the data centers that drive them. So when you say that people are tired in the United States, absolutely. But people around the world have been experiencing authoritarianism at rising rates, and there's nothing new about the United States on that front. So all of us are here in solidarity with those around the world who are facing other authoritarian leaders. At the end of this day, it's not about countries versus countries on climate, which is what the UN wants you to think. It's about people and the planet versus corporations and the politicians that they stand up.
So thank you to all of our panelists for those impassioned interventions. We'll open it up to the room right now for a few questions, and if you could just say your name and either the news outlet you're with or your organization, that would be great. Okay, we'll take a couple. One here.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, my name is Jonas Wag. I'm a journalist from Germany. I was wondering if you could tell me if you think it's a good thing that the US had such a big presence on Tuesday. We're here with two governors. Especially California was very well represented, I'd say. Do you think that's actually a good thing for COP? Yeah, could you maybe say, well, you already talked about what you think about their policy, so maybe just, yeah, if you think that actually furthered the progress of the conference. Thank you.
Governor Gavin Newsom and Michelle Lujan Grisham, not only were they here at the America's All In event, I think it's really important that us as grassroots organizations are pushing our subnationals to be in these spaces to fill the gap of the U.S. presence. However, it's still really important that we're holding them accountable back at home, right? So we're pushing Governor Gavin Newsom to support the Make Polluters Climate Superfund Act. And in New Mexico, MLG, continues to extract and support the fossil fuel industry. And she's in these spaces claiming climate leadership once again, but she's continuing to harm our communities back home. And so if she wants to be, in these spaces, she has to listen to frontline communities who are on and experiencing the climate crisis. So while it's good that some nationals are present, there's still a lot of work to do. And they have the opportunity to actually make great strides in the U.S., especially Newsom, right? He can lead on a just transition in the U.S., and he has an amazing opportunity. He needs to do it.
I'll also mention some of us live in what's called the red zones, meaning we will never probably have representation at a gathering like this. And so I found it really helpful to see Governor Newsom here. I think the United States and its citizenry has forgotten what leadership looks like. You have to show up. You don't always have to be liked. You don't always have to agree, but you've got to be present. And I think it says something about those who show up even when they know they're going to receive maybe unfavorable remarks, maybe some critiques, but they're still here. So I was really glad to see the presence of Governor Newsom and other leaders who are here from the subnational level in the United States. I hope it serves as a wake-up call to the citizenry of the United States around our role in a global conversation, narrative, and solution process.
And I think adding on to what's just been said, stepping into the global light as a climate leader means that all pressure is now on you to actually step into the light as a global climate leader. Governor Newsom has done some very good things, and he has an incredible way to go in terms of even more things that he can do to actually phase out fossil fuels and tackle the fossil fuel industry. So it's fantastic that he came out. This is his opportunity to understand that the world wants that type of leadership, and we are here to support him every step of the way to go even farther and make polluters pay.
Great. Just one question up here. Yes.
It's Masato Kimura, Japanese freelance journalist based in London. Could I have more information about data center? Trump visited the UK and make a big deal for building data center, but it is said that data center absorb a lot of money, electricity, and water. What is going on in the United States?
So,
Go ahead.
If I understand you correctly, the question was about data centers and just the massive push to build more data centers. Okay, great. So maybe we'll go to Gene, and I don't know if any of Ian. Okay, great. What? Okay, yeah.
Well, I can share what it looks like on the ground in my neighborhood, which is one of the most cumulatively impacted, and certainly in the state of Colorado, refineries and truck traffic and trains. They decided to put in a data center across the street from a public health center and a senior center. And they allowed the new gas turbines for backup power to be put facing the senior center, okay? And so what I want to make clear to everybody is that these environmental justice concerns have a lot to do with zoning and have where we choose to build. And you hear a lot of people say that zoning is a solution when it comes to transit and affordable housing and density, but the communities that have faced industrial polluters, it's because they have industrial zoning that is legacy zoning. We need to have a conversation about how do we upzone that to a better use that is more protective for people. I would also say there are huge concerns about affordability. In particular, I've heard some people in the United States say, Beyonce, bring your own clean energy. It's important for us to make sure they're bringing their own clean energy and that they are responsibly using water. And that is a big concern for people all across the Southwest.
The US plays a disproportionate role in data center build-out. The US is the #1 historic emitter of carbon overall. It now is the #1 polluter of data center emissions. And that's because Trump and even his predecessor Biden both have pushed for fracked gas and coal, only Trump on coal, to fuel data centers. So data centers and big tech are coming together to have this love child of AI. And AI data centers are becoming the new lifeline for fossil fuels. That's why all of us have to be extremely, extremely cognizant of this phenomenon. Data centers currently are undercutting our climate goals. We are at the UNFCCC. We need to actually put guardrails, global guardrails, national guardrails, state, local guardrails on data centers because of their immense environmental justice consequences and their immense climate consequences. People don't realize that. They view AI as a very techno-optimist way that it's going to solve the climate emergency. Science tells us how we need to solve the climate emergency. It's phase out fossil fuels. We don't need AI for that.
I would say keep your eye on data centers and have an understanding of US history. If you watch where slave plantations were, you will understand where oil refineries went. You will then understand where hydrogen hubs are going. And if you watch where the data centers are going, it's where the black people are, it's where the poor people are, it's where the indigenous people are. Those data centers and those placements, yes, have to do with zoning, but more have to do with environmental justice and racism and policies that absolutely relegate black, brown, and poor people to absolutely nothing and less value than the profits that can be made for a few companies. This is not just a conversation about technology. This is a conversation about equality and power. And we've got to get our head and our hearts around that. This is an environmental justice issue, not just because of the water usage, not just because of the energy usage, because of where they place these things and which cities they're going to and which communities they're wiping out in order to put them there. We can't take our eye off of this one.
Thank you. I'll just close out by saying thank you to all of our panelists. And if you're interested in this issue of data centers, I believe CBD is holding a press panel tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 10:30 to 11 in press conference room 2, this one. Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And feel free to reach out or follow us outside if you'd like to have any follow-up conversations with any of our panelists. Thank you so much.
Careful with right here, because I saw someone fall off that guy.